Yamuna Tira Yamuna Tira Yamuna Tira Punjabi Hari Rama Punjabi Hari Jai Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai, Om Premanandi, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiraya Nasta Praeshu Bhadresu Nityam Bhagavatam Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Vaivati Naistiki. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we first offer a respectful obeisance unto the personality of Godhead, Lord Narayan, unto Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and Srila Vyasadeva, the author, by regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome when the heart becomes destroyed to practically nil, and thus loving service unto the glorious Lord, who is praised with transcendental hymns, becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 6, Purusha Shukta confirmed, text number 35. It's on the board, right? Soham Samamna Yamayas Tapomaya Soham Samamna Yamayas Tapomaya Prajapatinam Abhivandita Pati Prajapatinam Abhivandita Pati Astaya Yogam Nipunam Samahitas Astaya Yogam Nipunam Samahitas Tam Najagacham Yata Atma Sambhavaha Tam na jagatcham yata atma sambhava. Soham samanaya mayastapo maya. Prajapatinam abhivandita pati. Astaya yogam nipunam samahitas. Tamna jagatcham yata atma sambhavaha. Soham samanaya mayastapo maya. Prajapatinam abhivandita pati. Astaya yogam nipunam samahitas. Tamna jagatcham yata atma sambhavaha. Soham samanaya mayastapo maya. Prajapatinam abhivandita pati. Astaya yogam nipunam samahitas. Tamna jagatcham yata atma sambhavaha. Soham samanaya manastamo maya. Prajapatinam abhivandita pati. Astaya yogam nipunam samahitas. Tamna gacchaham yata atma sambhava.
Soham saman amayastapo maya.
Soham samanaya mayastapo maya.
Prajapatinam abhivandita pati.
Prajapatinam abhivandita pati.
Astaya yogam nipunam samahitas.
Astaya yogam nipunam samahitas.
Tamna Chaham yata atma sambhavi.
Tamnaya jacham ta atma sambhava.
Soham samam nam ayamayas tapo mayaha.
Soham samanaya mayastapo maya.
Prajapatinam abhivandita pati.
Prajapatinam abhivandita pati.
Astaya yogam nipunam samahitas.
Astaya yogam nipunam samahitas.
Tamnadhaya gaccham yata atma sambhavaha.
Tamna jagatcham yata atma sambhava. Okay, word to word. Sa aham myself, the great Brahma.
Myself, the great Brahma.
The word just means myself. In parentheses, it's the great Brahma because that's who's speaking. Okay, next word. Samamnaya, Maya, and the chain of disciplined succession of Vedic wisdom. Tapamaya, successfully having undergone all austerities. Prajapatinam, of all the forefathers of living entities. Abhivandita, worshipable. Pati, master. Astaya, successfully practiced. Yogam, mystic powers. Nipunam, very expert. Samahita, self-realized. Tam, the Supreme Lord. Na, did not. Ajagatcham, properly understood. Yataha, from whom? Atma, self. Sambhavaha, generated. Okay, translation, please repeat. Although I am known, is the great Brahma, perfect in the disciplined succession of Vedic wisdom. And although I have undergone all austerities and am an expert in mystic powers and self-realization, and although I am recognized as such by the great forefathers of the living entities who offer me respectful obeisances, still I cannot understand him, the Lord, the very source of my birth. Okay, Srila Prabhupada's purport. It's a little bit long. People may need something to keep their attention span, So Nimai can distribute a piece of Mahabharati.
Wow. Nice.
That'll do it.
Okay, here we go. Brahma, the greatest of all living creatures within the universe, is admitting his failure to know the Supreme Lord, despite his vast learning in the Vedic wisdom, despite his austerity, penance, mystic powers, and self-realization, and despite being worshipped by great Prajapatis, the forefathers of the living entities. So, these qualifications are not sufficient to know the Supreme Lord. Brahmaji could understand the Lord to a little extent only when he was trying to serve him by the eagerness of his heart. Read down Yavata. Read down Yavata, which is the devotional service mood. Therefore, the Lord can be known only by the sincere mood of eagerness for service, and not by any amount of material qualification as scientist or speculative philosopher, or by attainment of mystic powers. The fact is clearly collaborated. In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, text 54 and 55, Ramabhuta prasanatmana sochitina kamchiti Samasavesu bhutesu mad bhaktim lavate param. Bhakyamama vijanati yavan yas shasmita vataha tato mam tavato gyantva visate taranantaram. Only by self-realization, by attainment of the above high qualifications of Vedic wisdom, austerity, etc., can help one on the path of devotional service. But failing in devotional service, one remains still imperfect, because even in the position of self-realization, one cannot factually know the Supreme Lord. By self-realization, one is qualified to become a devotee. And the devotee, by service mood, bhakya, only can gradually know the personality of Godhead. One should not, however, misunderstand the import of abhisate, enters into, is referring to merging into the existence of the Supreme. Even in material existence, one is merged in the existence of the Lord. No materialist can disentangle self from matter, for the self is merged in the external energy of the Lord. As no layman can separate butter from milk, no one can extricate the merged self from matter by acquiring some material qualification. This abhisate by devotion, bhakya, means to be able to participate in the association of the Lord in person. Bhakti, or devotional service to the Lord, means to become free from material entanglement and then to enter into the kingdom of God, becoming one like Him. Losing one's individuality is not the aim of Bhakti Yoga or the devotees of the Lord. There are 5 types of liberation, one of which is Sayuja Mukti, or being merged into the existence or body, of the Lord. The other forms of liberation maintain the individuality of the particular soul and involve being always engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. The word visate, used in the verses of the Bhagavad Gita, is thus meant for the devotees who are not at all anxious for any kind of liberation. The devotees are satisfied simply in being engaged in the service of the Lord, regardless of the situation. Lord Brahma is the first living being who directly learned the Vedic wisdom from the Lord. Kena Brahma Rida Ya Adi Kavaye. Therefore, who can be a more learned Vedantist than Lord Brahma? He admits that in spite of his perfect knowledge in the Vedas, he was unable to know the glories of the Lord. Since no one can be more than Lord Brahma, how can a so-called Vedantist be perfectly cognizant of the absolute truth? The so-called Vedantist, therefore, cannot enter into the existence of the Lord without being trained in the matter of Bhakti Vedanta, or Vedanta plus Bhakti. Vedanta means self-realization, and Bhakti means realization of the personality of Godhead, to some extent. No one can know the personality of Godhead in full, but at least to a certain extent, one can know the absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, by self-surrender in a devotional attitude, and by nothing else. In the Brahma Samhita also, it is said, Vedesu Durlabham, or simply by study of Vedanta, one can hardly find out the existence of the personality of Godhead. But the Lord is Adurlabham, Atmabhakta, very easily attainable to his devotee. Srila Vyasadeva therefore was not satisfied with simply compiling Vedanta sutras, but over and above this, by the advice of his spiritual master, Narada, he compiled the Srimad Bhagavatam in order to understand the real import of Vedanta. Srimad Bhagavatam, therefore, is the absolute medium by which to understand the absolute truth. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport to the 35th sloka, 6th chapter of the second canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Purusha Sukta, confirmed. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So, we offer our respectful obeisances to Srila Prabhupada because he has opened our eyes which were shut by the darkness of ignorance. When Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, who has established within the material world the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya, give us shelter under his lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So this is why we study this book every morning, because this is the book that is the perfect medium for understanding devotional service, understanding the mood of devotional service, and it can rub off on us and create this attitude of devotional service, an attitude of loving devotional service to the Lord. It's very important. It's not a cheap thing. It's not something artificial or something that can just be imitated. You know, we may attempt to do that, and there may be some benefit to imitating the devotion of devotees, especially the Acharya, the spiritual master. But it has to become genuine and not artificial, so to speak. So that is not easily accomplishable. It's actually more easily accomplishable to attain big PhD degrees and to perform powerful austerities and gain all sorts of mystic yoga power. And those things are hard for us common people, but those things are actually much easier to attain than a loving devotional attitude to the Supreme Lord with pure faith. So, although it is the greatest achievement that can bring one everlasting satisfaction, health, pleasure, and cognition or knowledge, it isn't all that difficult. Adulabham is the word Srila Prabhupada quotes here, and Lord Brahma, he sings using that word in one of the stanzas in the Brahma Samhita. Vede sudurlabham adurlabham atmabhakta. The Lord cannot be, it's very difficult to understand the Lord through Vedanta, Durlabham, but Adurlabham, the preface A before the word difficult, makes it, it's not difficult by Atma Bhakta, by the person who performs Bhakti. So by Bhakti it becomes easy. And Bhakti is not that difficult to perform. One doesn't have to become a great musician to become a bhakta. That takes a lot of practice. But one doesn't have to accomplish that in order to be a bhakta. The best process to become a bhakta or a devotee, pure devotee of the Lord, is to hear Srimad Bhagavatam systematically, from beginning to end, in the association of devotees. Now, granted, it's not a completely easy task. It's not a 100-page book. It's not just one mantra like the Maha Mantra that we chant, which in another sense or reality, the Maha Mantra encompasses all of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So yes, that's why it's called Maha Mantra, a great mantra, because that one mantra can open our eyes to not only self-realization, but loving devotional service to the Lord. But the fact of the matter is that when we have some love for Krishna, we love hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, because it means the beautiful story of the personality of Godhead. One can always associate with the personality of Godhead through Srimad Bhagavatam. One can learn about the Lord's devotees and how they execute pure devotional service. And by that association, we can become like that. One can become a pure devotee. So, we may not have so much association in this ordinary world. Most of us out there are simply, we use the word kami. It's a word that means just fruited workers. We're just fruited workers. We're just always trying to, get what we need. And even more than what we need, and put it in the bank and invest it and get even more. So that, we can be some sort of charitable person that can give away to other people and make them feel better and make ourselves feel better. But it's all material in the sense that we're dealing with material things. Everyone's going to die, and we can't take any of that with us. So it's not like the summum bonum or the ultimate perfection in life just to attain material prosperity. The perfection of life is to become free from misery and attain our natural blissful state, our eternal constitution, whereby we're always self-satisfied, always happy, always cognizant of the truth, and full of transcendental knowledge of ourself and the self of others, and also of the supreme self. So, that perfection can be easily attained, even by a poor man or an illiterate person. There's no material qualification. It's not a matter of becoming like Brahma, really smart and, really transcendental to the nature of this world. But the qualification is that one becomes a devotee, not only in mind but in heart, and has a loving service attitude for the Lord. And that is easily accomplished by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. And like I said before, granted, it's not a 100-page book, but we do have somewhere around 100 years. Although, maybe we only got a year, maybe we only got a second. No one knows. But still, if we take what we got in time and we apply it to hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, then that's toward our eternal perfection. Without a doubt. Simply hearing Srimad Bhagavatam can bring one perfection. Srila Prabhupada used to even say, even just touching the book can help one attain perfection. Devotees distribute the books so that people can even just have them on their bookshelf. Even having the book in one's home brings auspiciousness. It's like having Krishna there himself. So, of course, better to take the book off the shelf and read it. But the book is so powerful that just being in its presence has a purifying effect. It actually can erode all that materialistic mentality that has encompassed us, that is Prabhupada was pointing out in the purport, that it's not easy to get disentangled. Our self is entangled in a material body, and most of us feel like I am this body. If your bones ache, you feel like you're this body. If your mind aches, you feel like you're this mind. Or even if it's feeling good, then you feel like it. So to disentangle oneself, isn't a child's game, so to speak. People desiring to realize their soul, undergo great labor to try to gain some self-realization or realization of the self beyond this body. The body that we will all have to give up one day and go wherever we go. So people have labored since the beginning of time to try to attain such a position. And that can easily be attained by simply hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. If we systematically listen to it in the association of devotees from beginning to end, and granted that may take some years, one can attain self-realization. The very same thing people labor by performing difficult austerities, by difficult meditations, by difficult study of Vedic literature. It can all be attained simply by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, and to the extent that one is not just realized in self-realization of our soul being beyond this body, our person, our self being beyond this body and mind, but also attaining that rare gift of a loving devotional attitude to the Lord. Because that is the greatest gift. One may be a big scholar, but one may not have any devotion for the Lord. Or one may not have any deep devotion for the Lord. One's faith may have its limitations. But to gain a faith whereby one doesn't care about anything else. One really does love the Lord like we love so many things in this world. We love our family, we love our nation, we love our school. Or we may not love them, but there's something we must love, even if it's just our own self. We may be so narcissistic that all we can love is ourselves. But, generally speaking, people find satisfaction, loving others, loving their pets, loving, maybe even just loving music, or loving mathematics, or loving sports. People, that loving capacity gets put somewhere where we have an interest. And that's what makes the world go around. Generally speaking, it's a family thing. People wouldn't create families because there's some Shakti or energy that makes people attracted to one another, and create a family whereby people work hard just to maintain it. They'll give their life to maintain it. Even the animals are like that. Many of them with their children. Animals are like that. And human being is really nothing more than an intelligent mammal. But that intelligence isn't meant for just accumulating all sorts of material things and then dying, not knowing, where one's next destination goes. It's meant for just the opposite of that, dying and knowing where I'm going, and not being attached to things that ultimately I believe behind. And with the speaker, if I was just a mazer, never really properly used those things. You know, we're meant to, whatever prosperity we have, we're meant to use in the Lord's service, you know, to help other people. I mean, when we have a world where they do more fighting, practically speaking, than they do feeding, I mean, can you believe that, you know, they're hungry people, but yet, you know, our leaders are engaged in so much politics and warfare.
They call the military-industrial complex, isn't it? Is that what
Yeah.
you're talking about?
Yeah. You know, it's all over the world. You know, they spend more time selling weapons to gain money than just feeding the hungry. No, I know we certainly have a lot of non-profit groups and people that do their best to do that, including Prabhupada's International Society for Krishna Consciousness, which is the largest vegetarian food distribution organization in the world. But still, you know, why? Or there's so many of them doing that because there's so many hungry people. I mean, even in America, they can't figure out what to do with the homeless people in Los Angeles. And granted, it may be more than just a hunger problem. It's still, you know, they have, you know, it's a huge problem, even in one of the world's richest countries. So you would think that we could put everything else aside, put all the politics and problems aside. Let's get together and just feed everybody first. And get everybody healthy. And give them, you know, an opportunity for some happiness in life. You know, let the kids, you know, have some happiness. And let's educate everybody and, you know, get them all working in such a way that, you know, it's a natural job for them. It's some duty that they can perform and take some satisfaction in being a contributor in society, and at the same time getting what is required to maintain their self and family. Why can't they all just get together and do that? Because that's, you know, nature of the material world. There's just a criminal element, and it extends all the way into the leadership of the world, where people who have some prowess to lead end up just fighting with one another over right and wrong. You know, and it's granted many times it's needed. Or you may have, you know, so much exploitation of others. And if some other, you know, country or political party didn't step in to put a stop to it, then you'd have, even a worse situation. So I'm not trying to say there shouldn't be a military or there shouldn't be, you know, leaders in society, that all leaders in society are corrupt. I mean, just like, you know, a mailman should be a good person, so similarly, so should a governor or president or, you know, some sort of political leader. So this Srimad Bhagavatam isn't just meant for us common people, but it's also meant for the great leaders in society. You know, the political leaders or the educational leaders, you know, the scientists, the teachers, the poets, the researchers, etc. The writers. It's meant for everyone to actually gain devotion to the Lord, and then we can follow in His footsteps, and, you know, He can guide humanity properly to, you know, minimize their use of weapons and maximize their use of helping one another. You know, without, you know, their clash of egos. Oh no, we were here first. You know, we are the ones, you know, who are doing good for humanity. They're just trying to, gain control over you or something. You know. No, where we can actually help others without an ulterior motive of, you know, dominating them and simply turning them into some sort of economic labor or slave labor. You know. The world is meant to be a good place. even in this material world of birth and death. It's not the Lord's will that it be a bad place. But unfortunately, human beings have, spoiled so many things in this age. They're spoiling things for the animals, they're spoiling things for the insects, they're spoiling the water, they're spoiling the soil, they're spoiling the air. It's us doing it. And so this revival of goodness is what is required. And Srimad Bhagavatam, doesn't only help with spiritual things, but it helps with these material things. By gaining devotion for the Lord, then all the other things are taken care of. In the Bhagavad Gita, it said the purpose that is served by so many little small ponds can at once be served by a great mass of water. So, we may have so many, need for some water, and some little pond may not be sufficient. But a great reservoir can serve the needs of everyone. So the Lord can fulfill the needs of everyone. Humanity simply has to, properly follow. And, despite so many holy books, including Srimad Bhagavatam, they have failed to do that. So, it's our job, and it's the next generation's job, and the generation after that, to set the course right. If we don't become social activists, so to speak, who are teaching this wonderful message, then what can we expect? That's actually the greatest work to teach the Srimad Bhagavatam, to distribute the Srimad Bhagavatam, to give the Bhagavat knowledge to other people. It's the most needed thing, and it's not that our work of feeding people food is something insignificant or less, but because that food has been sanctified, then that's just as important. Because if somebody's hungry, how can they read such text and listen to it and pay any mind to it when you're hungry? When you don't have proper nutrition and you're suffering. People don't have any mind for that. They have other needs. So we have to take care of people, physically and mentally, and then spiritually. All these things are included. Like the great reservoir can fulfill the needs of everyone. So, Krishna can fulfill the needs of everyone, whatever that need may be, and that need's going to be different for the multitude of individuals we have in the world. But everyone should have that need met. And that, we can be a part of that in our life, and that will give us self-satisfaction. And at the same time, elevate us to a greater state of devotion. We all have room for that experience to, actually have, an improvement in our genuine devotional service attitude. All of Prabhupada's disciples saw that in Prabhupada, and certainly they tried to emulate it. But it's the teaching or the practice that he gave to come up to the gold standard, so to speak, of genuine devotion, and that takes everyone can use certainly some improvement in that. Okay, so I'm just going to stop here.
Prabhu, just for the sake of Selena, one thing you said, could you clarify? As we make advancement, you said we don't care about anything but Krishna. But I don't think you meant that literally. Because